everyone, Andrew here, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be all about Pokemon cards. I played a lot of video games back in the day. However, Pokemon cards were also a very relevant part of my childhood. I was in grade 1, back when that whole Pokemon bomb hit North America, where you got the game, the anime, the toys, and of course the cards. I absolutely loved playing the game back in the day, collecting the cards. Every weekend together with my father, we would go down to the local card/comic shop and trade and collect and of course play the game. I just have such good memories of Pokemon back in the day, and it's amazing, you know, I look back with such fond memories of when Pokemon first arrived. Like, Pokemon is still very big and very relevant today, obviously, but back then it just had such a different, you know, aura about it because it was new and you could actually memorize all of the names fairly easily, and it was this grand adventure that, you know, you had never seen before, where today, you know, you definitely see shadows of previous generations in the new ones, but back then it was all fresh and it was awesome. And being in grade 1 at the time, I really got to experience it all in, I think, the best position possible. Everything just coming out at once. You know, the battle that raged on between student versus teacher. They'd be like, give me those Pokemon cards, and they literally said that. People calling Pokemon Pokemon is not just some kind of urban legend. People, you know, actually mistook it as the name back in the day. So I just have such fond memories all around of Pokemon cards, and I don't really play too much today. I don't collect them anymore. The game has definitely changed quite a bit, but I will always be fond for the cards and the game as it was played back in the day. The reason that kind of had Pokemon cards on the brain is because over on Tealgamemaster's channel, we are currently playing Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy/Game Boy Color. It is absolutely awesome. And one of the cool things, of course, about the Game Boy game is you'd be thinking like, oh man, it's so outdated these days, why would anyone ever play it? But it's cool because it's almost like a little capture in time of what the game was back then. You know, it has the first 3 sets in it plus some other cards, so you can play it, you know, as the game existed back then without all the new rules and other things that have now kind of creeped into it. Also back in the day, together with my father, I actually collected the first 3 sets, the base, jungle, and fossil set. Had so much fun doing that, and I think we're gonna have a look through this binder which has kept hold of those cards for all these years. There's also on the Game Boy Color the second Pokemon trading card game, which is one of my all-time favorite games, and this adds in the Rocket set. So it's really the perfect snapshot of, I think, like the height of the Pokemon trading card game you know, craze. You can just go back, play this anytime you want, and it doesn't change no matter how many new sets come out, because there's like a new one every other month, maybe even every month these days. What I want to do now, though, is crack open this binder and let's have a look at what the Pokemon trading card game looked like at the end of the 90s. Alright, so let's open this thing up. It's not a special Pokemon binder or anything, it's pretty much just, you know, the most basic binder you can find, but I suppose it's what's inside that really matters. So we get to the good stuff over here. On the left, actually, we have a couple things we'll look at first. This was a sheet of cards that you got at Burger King, I think with the kids meal back in the day. That was a promotion for the first movie. When it came out, you just got a whole bunch of scenes from the first movie there, and if you flip it over, just, you know, some Pokemon on the back. Obviously not the kind of Pokemon cards you would think about, but I think it's still cool to have that sheet intact nonetheless. And what's over here are actually some fake Pokemon cards, because, of course, you know, Pokemon cards being as big as they were, people are going to want to counterfeit them, and you can tell that they're fake because the backs are purple, and they are actually smaller than your typical Pokemon card. It's funny because I think I actually bought some of these before I ever got my hands on real ones, so I didn't know. I mean, Pokemon were brand new, and these are from, you know, copies of the base set. So I had no idea at the time that Pokemon cards didn't look as small as this, and they also lack the number and such, you know, what order they come in the set. So those were bad all around, but here's the good stuff. I see there's a little bit of a glare, but I think if I hold it, we should be fine. Charizard, everyone's kind of favorite, probably the most known Pokemon card of them all. It's not the first edition, so it's not like super valuable or anything like that, but good memories back in the day trading for it, and just all these. I'm so nostalgic looking for them. Of course, each set, this is, you know, we're starting with the base set, and they are all in order up to the end of the fossil set, but you start with the holographics, and then moving on. So many good memories. I think Venusaur was the very last card I ever got of the base set. Holographic Venusaur there. Charmeleon and that. I've always been fond of fire and fighting Pokemon. I think are a lot of fun to use. There's a couple here that you can see, you know, a little bit older than some of the other ones. There's also a few first editions mixed in. I didn't usually go for first editions. I just kind of, you know, got whichever ones I could from people. But just all around, just bring back so many memories. You can't make a deck without computer search, you know, shove 4 computer searches in there. That's the way to play the game back in the day. Get all those cards you need immediately. You know, also have to stock up on bills. I always thought that double colorless energy was really cool. Back in the day, I mean, there was a little bit of, you know, interpretation to be had with the rules when people were new, and I know that there were people who thought, myself included, that it counted as any color, which would, of course, you know, be the rainbow energy later on. But, you know, people thought you could play this and it would count as, like, 2 grass energies or something like that. I mean, if you don't know how to play the game, you're probably not going to be, you know, understanding some of the things I'm talking about, but I still hope that you enjoyed this video. I think what this is I think one time I didn't have a coin, so I just put this on a piece of paper and, you know, you flip the coin. Getting creative back in the day. So that's the base set. Moving now to the jungle set. Once again, starting with those holographics. Very good memories looking through all these. Just so much fun back in the day. And of course, all of these can be found in the original Pokemon trading card game. The very last card I ever got of the base, fossil, or jungle set was non-holographic Vaporeon. It's very interesting because there was actually a starter deck. Let me just get it here. A Water Blast here, and it includes holographic Vaporeon as kind of, you know, its special card that this deck had. But the funny thing is that the holographic version is not the same number in the set as the non-holographic version. So getting the holographic one, which goes here, you know, didn't count as the same. And the non-holographic one is also star rarity. There is Circle, Diamond, and Star. You know, Circle being the least rare, and Star, you only get 1 star card per pack. So for some reason, I just had a really hard time getting my hands on that until eventually one day at school, I was able to trade it for a whole bunch of stuff. But it's just funny that, you know, so a card that's not very significant, and, you know, technically not even as cool as the holographic one, was the last card I ever got back in my collecting days. Rapidash, always been a favorite of mine from the jungle set. I actually have a really funny memory of buying the jungle set. My very first pack ever, I was with my father, we went to a baseball game, and on the way home we happened to go into a store, and they had some Pokemon card packs, and I was like, I've never seen that kind of pack before, and I bought it, and I got a whole bunch of crazy cards that no one had ever heard of at the time. People weren't, you know, following the internet and every day reading up on the new cards coming out. I told people, like, I have a Jigglypuff card. People were like, there's no Jigglypuff Pokemon card. What are you talking about? But in the jungle set, there was. Like, I'm just so nostalgic for when you didn't know about everything that was being released, like 6 months before it came out. Those sure were different times. Moving now into the fossil set. Once again, starting with those holographics, and the fossil set was very cool as well. Lots of very neat Pokemon in the fossil set. Mr. Fuji and such, and you know, put the trainers at the end, and then we move into the dark set. But what happened, or the, you know, not the dark set necessarily, but the Team Rocket set, which also included dark versions of various Pokemon. But in between the fossil and the Team Rocket set, what they did in North America, because I don't actually believe they did this in Japan, was they did a re-release of the first 3 sets. I think it was called the Base Set 2. And what that was it was kind of like the best cards, or like a selection of cards from the first 3 sets re-released into what was technically a new set with new numbers and all that. And I wasn't really a big fan of that. I didn't see any need to, you know, re-buy a whole bunch of cards that I already had. So I didn't collect that set, and then after that, I guess kind of backed out from having, you know, feeling the need to own every single card. But still, I of course bought some Team Rocket packs and added them to some of my decks and traded with people to get them, and overall they are still very nice cards. And I absolutely love the second trading card game on the Game Boy, where you can, you know, make use of all these, and they're lots of fun to deal with. The thing about dark Pokemon is that they usually have not very much HP, so like, you know, Dark Rapidash only has 60 HP, but they tend to be fairly powerful, so you have to make that kind of sacrifice. But usually it's not one I like to make. Like, I like the Rocket set Charmander, but then I'll usually evolve it into the base set Charmeleon. So I like that you can kind of mix and match like that. The Rocket set Charmander doesn't have to evolve into, you know, Dark Charmeleon, for example. The Rocket set was also the introduction of the Rainbow Energy, which I've always thought was really neat. I've always really liked the Rainbow Energy. There's a holographic version of that as well, which I have somewhere. But I've always liked that. After Team Rocket set, you then got the Gym Leader set, and there was 2 of these, and I've always thought, I know that they looked like a 1, I was holding my fingers there, but it was a 2. I've always really liked the Gym Leader sets, and I wish that if there was a Pokemon Trading Card Video Game 3, it probably would have centered around the Gym Leader sets, and I think that would have been super cool to see. But I like that, you know, this really crosses over with the show, obviously, which I was very, very, very into at the time, so you get to see all your gym leaders and such. And I like the trainers, especially, based around them, like Blaine, all about gambling and quiz shows, and Lieutenant Surge being all cool. Yeah, it was just, you know, such a different kind of vibe that I got from Pokemon back in the day. There's also, of course, promo cards. This Entei right here being a promotion given when you saw Pokemon, the 3rd movie in theaters. I saw all Pokemon movies in the theater up to the 4th one, Pokemon Forever, which was cool. And I've also actually seen a couple of the newer ones in theater as well. Their names are slipping my mind right now. There's one where he goes to the City of Wind, and there was one that was the retelling of when he gets Pikachu and all that. I don't know why I can't remember their names, but I did see those 2 movies in theaters as well. And you get some other cards, some very nice holographics from the Gym Leader sets. I believe we're into the 2nd Gym Leader set now. And then they started introducing gym cards. This is a little bit, you know, the rules definitely started evolving by this point. Now you have gym cards, which when placed on the field, create some kind of global effect for all Pokemon while the card remains in play. And I believe it remains in play until someone plays another gym card, or there may be conditions sometimes where they don't necessarily, you know, stay in effect for too long. And then of course there was also, you know, like these, like it's just literally just Blaine, that's it, or, you know, Brock and such. Again, I think that the Gym Leader set is very cool. Holographic Blaine. And then we get into my promo card section, and promos are really neat because they are given out usually for special occasions like promo, and they're actually all numbered. So promo 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all given out when you attended Pokemon the first movie in theaters. And the problem is though, you would only get one, so if you wanted the rest of them, you'd have to start, you know, bartering with people who were in the line who might not necessarily want them, or you would have to, you know, go to the Pokemon League Club at your local card store and try to trade people there, which is how I eventually got them all. Promo number 1 though was given out at the Pokemon League Club, which, as I said, with my father, I visited a lot back in the day. Same with these ones. I remember, I think this one was given out at Toys R Us, while the holographic one was a giveaway at the Pokemon League. Pokemon League even used to give away pre-release cards, which was really neat. Hopefully you can see it says pre-release there, so you could actually, you know, get your hands on things before they were out to the rest of the world. Computer Error was another one from the Pokemon League. Just so much fun all around. Here's, of course, Ancient Mew. Another handout at Pokemon the first movie for those who attended. And here's a couple cards from the base set 2. As you can see there, you have that 2 there. And these are cards that if you go back and look, you will see are also in my base set section. Just these are, you know, the 2 version of them, which again, I didn't feel much reason to collect a whole bunch of them. Another base set 2 one. I mean, you can never go wrong with computer search, even if it's from the base set 2. But yeah, that kind of just took the fun out of, you know, collecting, when it's like, now I'm expected to collect ones that were already out before. And then unfortunately that kind of wrecked the momentum into the Rocket cards, but I still had fun playing the game for many years. There were also these cards that were basically scenes from the show, where on one side you have, you know, a picture of a scene, and then on the back you have kind of the description of what's going on there. Those were very neat as well. And here's even another set that was out later on after the base set 2. This was like the, you know, Legends cards or something like that, where they once again released a whole bunch of cards from previous sets, and it's just like, it became way too much to collect them all. And again, that's why the Game Boy games are so fun, because you don't have to buy any packs to enjoy them. You just battle other people in the games, and you keep getting packs and keep getting cards, and you can, build as many decks as you want without having to spend a dime after, of course, you pick up the game. Then there were some of them that had this kind of weird design on it. And then we get into the Neo sets. So, especially by the time that Johto came out, I wasn't as big into the Pokemon trading card game anymore. I don't know, I wasn't really going to Pokemon League by this point. I was playing other things. I would still play it with my friends from time to time, but it definitely wasn't the major part of my life that it was when it was just the original sets. And that brings us to the back here, where we actually get, let me open that up, my Pokemon League badge book. Now, the Pokemon League was so cool because, like I said, it would usually be hosted by your local card or comic shop and such, and you'd go down there, and back when Pokemon cards were new, it was just the most hopping place in town. Everyone was trading and playing, and the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. And you got this book, and as you filled it up, you would actually receive physical badges for each of the gyms from the first generation. And the way it looked is you would get a page like this, and you would fill it with stamps. And as it says here, you would get 10 one stamp equals 10 points. And you get 10 points for playing a game, and then an additional 10 points if you win that game, or you could get 20 points for teaching a new player. And once you fill the stamps enough to get to the badge symbol, that is when you got your physical badge. And you could do that, you could see, they had a whole bunch of different, weeks. So it looks like each one lasted for 6 weeks, and then, you could move on to the next badge. And I eventually did get them all, for the Kanto region. I think that eventually they did do it as well for the Johto region, but again, by that time I unfortunately just wasn't too into it anymore. Also, what you can also see is that if you kept going past the badge, there was TMs that you could earn. I think what happened though was unfortunately they ran out, so I would fill up the stars to like the TM1 for the Cinnabar Island set, and then unfortunately they didn't have any left, so I wasn't able to get it. But then at the back, what the technical machines do is they kind of give you, tips like trainer cards like Gust of Wind can finish off Pokemon that your opponent has retreated, that your opponent has retreated because your opponent thinks that those Pokemon have taken too much damage. So just this neat little tips like that, before you could look them up on the internet. That was how information got around by, method of sticker. And then these at the back, where again, as you saw, like computer error in my binder, if you filled this up, you got the card. So yeah, just so many great memories of playing and collecting Pokemon cards back in the day. I will always, cherish those early days. And for those of you out there who still enjoy Pokemon cards, I am very happy for you, because I just, as someone who collected back then, similar to the games, I played so much Pokemon back in the day, I collected so much Pokemon cards back in the day, that these days it's really hard for me to kind of do it again. But if you are, experiencing what I experienced as a younger person, then I think that is absolutely fantastic. And the fake cards do not like staying in there, so we'll be very careful as we close that. Some other things that I have to show just real quick are some boxes that I kept from decks that I bought back in the day. These are both from the Jungle ones, hilariously, but you got Water Blast and Power Reserve. I think it's cool that they are still intact. This is from that dastardly second release set that I was talking about. The cool part is that it actually includes a CD-ROM, which teaches you how to play the Pokemon trading card game. It's nothing like the Game Boy games, it's just a very basic thing, but I remember playing that at a friend's house back in the day, but I didn't even get my first computer until like 2003, but my friend had like Windows 98 back then, and that was a lot of fun to play. And these here are actually the boxes that you could, or rather that the cards came in. I did not buy the boxes full of packs, but I guess I was probably like the last person to buy a pack finishing off the box, and I was just able to get the box with it. This is for the cards that are based on the scenes from the show, and this is again one of the boxes that would have had packs. That was the second release set. This one I think is just a bunch of, if I open it nice and carefully here, bunch of got covers and things. This one I think is a little bit more interesting, so we'll have a real quick look through this one. Let me put this here. Maybe we can zoom in a little more now that we're just looking at this box. And of course, I mean, how can you go wrong with your rules? This is obviously a little bit newer, 2009. Even got some Metabots in there. Metabots were a thing back in the day. Digimon was a thing back in the day. This seems to be like, you know, my go-to thing for cards of all sorts. This, I believe, is Meryl, back when the Neo Genesis set was new. I know there was a promotion for that. A Ancient Mew. So yeah, just a couple of promotional things I actually got my hands on. I guess I left sealed. Probably tried to use them to trade, but never ended up trading them back today. Some empty packs. One for the Gym Leader, one for the Fossil set, another one for the Gym Leader sets. That one actually has the card taken out of it. I think I was probably building a deck, and that's what that one was supposed to be. And what else do we have? Some other things. Actually, I think this is a fake one again. It is too. You can tell it's purple. Another Mew. Another Mew. Whole bunch of stuff going on here. Another Lieutenant Surge pack. And some advertisements that came with the VHSs back in the day. Another pack for fossils. And just so much cool stuff surrounding Pokemon cards back in the day. And I will always be so thankful that I have those memories. Again, if you are out there right now creating similar memories with Pokemon cards, I hope that you have an absolute blast, because there is just something so fun about the community aspect of, you know, trading cards, collecting cards, battling cards. I will always be so thankful that I had those experiences back today, and it really is kind of like the precursor to beginning to collect video games. Pokemon cards, I guess, were really my first time dipping my toes into that kind of region. You know, doing that with my father was so much fun. And even today, with my father, I still attend swap meets and things. And I just think that collecting is a hobby that is so enjoyable. And yeah, if you are collecting cards, video games, whatever it is, I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic time. With all that said, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget, I am taking part in Tealgamemaster's Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy playthrough. It is a fantastic game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And with that said, thanks for watching. Hope that you enjoyed. I hope to see you next time for something different. So thanks and see you later.